So, hello, everybody. Welcome to How to Host a Demo Day workshop. This is really hopefully going to be more of a forum format where we're talking about some successful practices that folks have had in hosting a demo day, learning some different styles of how to host a demo day, and really being able to get a sense of what works and what doesn't for different folks. Some folks may have something that works and it doesn't work for another brigade. So I would just encourage everyone to listen to some different ideas and have an open mind about maybe trying some different tactics to see what works best for you. So we're really excited to be joined by a few presenters here from Open Oakland, Code for San Francisco, and Code for Boston. So we will be getting the microphone over to them in a few minutes. But I just wanted to start with a welcome. I made a little welcome slide. So I will show that very quickly. Yay! So this is everyone that we have, how to host a demo day, and our presenters. So I just wanted to show that.
Great.
And after that, I'd like to do an introduction of everybody that's on the call, just so that we can introduce ourselves. If you can say your name, your brigade, and then love to hear one fun fact about your favorite project that you hope to work on this year. So we'll get started. I'm just going to go from the top of my screen here. So I have Harlan up first.
Sorry, I was trying to figure out how to unmute myself. What are the things I'm saying?
Your name, your brigade, and the project that you're most excited to hopefully work on this year.
So my name's Harlan Weber. I'm the founder and one of the lead organizers at Code for Boston. And the brigade project I'm most excited about is our Cliff Effects project, which helps case managers for a local nonprofit assist their clientele with navigating cliff effects, which are where you unexpectedly lose a bunch of social service benefits due to some change in your life.
Great, thanks. Jesse, you're up next.
Again. There we go. Oh. Jesse.
Oh, sorry, there you go.
Can you hear me now? Okay. My name is Jesse, one of the lead organizers for Code for San Francisco. So I'll be sharing about our demo days a little bit later. Project that I'm excited about this year from the Brigade. One that started recently around mapping assets in San Francisco for disaster preparedness. So they're trying to build a crowdsourced platform for mapping things like shelters and stuff that people might be able to utilize in the event of a earthquake or other disaster. So it's been an exciting project to see grow.
Awesome, thank you. Erie, you're up next.
I'm Erie. I work at Code for America, and I'm really excited for Summit this year.
Yay. Chris Alfano, you're on deck. Or you're up, actually.
He's frozen in the snow.
Aww.
All right, we'll go next then to, oh, that's weird. We'll go to Rami.
Hi, I'm Rami. I'm a community co-organizer for Open Oakland, and one of the projects I'm really excited about is one of our newer projects. It is an air quality project. I forget the exact title, but it's mapping West Oakland air quality based on citizen science data, and it's data that's collected by a community partner, West Oakland Environmental Indicators Project. So I'm really stoked about that. And I'm also excited to get our DEI, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Brigade Action Team off the ground.
Yay.
And Nina's helping us out too.
Awesome. Okay, my screens keep on switching around, but Tom, you're up next.
Hey, can you hear me through Veronica? Cool. Hey everyone, I'm Tom. I'm the developer evangelist for the Brigade Network, and I go to Oakland, the Hack Night lead there. I guess I have to be self-serving with this project. The one that I work on, I'm really excited about for this year is open disclosure. We're visualizing campaign finance data. This is going to be a huge year for elections in San Francisco and Oakland. And so we're really excited to get out in front of that and make it really clear where people's money is going and if the candidates are living up to their no super PAC money pledges. So.
Awesome, thank you. Nina, you're up next.
Hi, my name is Nina. I'm with Hack for LA, and one of many things I'm excited about this year, hopefully working with one of our county supervisors' offices to start some criminal justice related project based on the ideas from that call we had late last year.
Awesome, thanks. Thanks for talking while you're at work. Sorry about that. Matt, you're up next.
Hello world, my name is Matt and I am on the leadership team at Code for Boston, and I think as far as projects that I'm excited about, one of the projects I've been working on is our discriminatory housing listings project that we've been working on with the city of Boston. So trying to identify housing listings that maybe don't follow the law as far as discrimination goes, and working with the city to find a way to, through sort of non-legal enforcement mechanisms, encourage people to better comply with the law and improve housing for everyone.
Awesome, thank you. Janet, you're up.
Hi, I'm Janet, Code for Dayton. And we have an app called Lot Linker that we've had out there for a while, but a couple summers ago, they did an inventory and went around and took pictures of all the properties, and we've just gotten hold of that data set. So we're going to try to add photos of the properties that people can get and through the tax foreclosure and turn them back into useful properties we have.
That's awesome, thanks. Joshua, you are up. I know you probably missed what we're saying, so it's your name, your brigade, and what project you're most excited to work on this year.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Veronica. My name is Josh. I'm also part of Hack for LA. I work with Nina there. And this year, this year I'm really excited. We are actually trying to we're trying to get a series of workshops going within our group and our organization to just develop skills, and also to try and get like topical discussions going. So like Nina mentioned, like a working group surrounding to tackle criminal justice ideas, and we're also thinking about like a working group to tackle like transportation and traffic, since that's a big thing in LA. But yeah, we're like kind of in the beginning stages of that. So it's going to be exciting this year.
Awesome, thank you. And Chris, if you're able to speak, then we'd love to hear from you, name, brigade, and a project you're most excited to work on this year.
Yes, hello. I'm Chris Alfano from Code for Philly. I'm also serving as an at-large NAC member this year. Two projects I'm really excited about this year, working on this year, are Ladder, the site that powers codeforphilly.org, and some other brigades. And also, I want to start a bet around a civic cloud.
Ooh.
Great, thank you. And Neil, I think you're closing us out.
I'm Neil, Open Oaklander, longtime Open Oaklander. I've worn, I don't know, most of the hats. Let's see, the thing that stimulates me the most, and I think I'm on my 5th or 6th year doing, is to co-produce City Camp. It's just a wonderful event, and I just have a lot of great people around me this year, and I'm just looking forward to continuing the work that we do to grow our community in all sorts of ways through it.
Great, thank you. Okay, perfect. So that concludes our introductions, and hopefully everyone feels a little bit more comfortable. Would love to make this session extremely collaborative. So if you have any questions or have anything to interject, or your brigade has tried something too and you want to share your story, please do so. And without further delay, I'd like to introduce Matt Zagaha and Harlan Weber from Code for Boston, who will be speaking about their demo days and how they put them on.
Cool. Great. How do we do the screen share here?
There should be a button at the bottom of your screen saying share screen. Do you have that ability?
Do not. Matt, do you?
Let me look. I
do. Sorry,
cool.
Got it.
All right.
Awesome.
All right. It was so big and so green that I totally missed it. Great. So cool. Thanks for joining us. My name's Harlan, and you can see Matt over there. And we're here to talk about how we run demo nights at Code for Boston. Can you all see this picture of everybody? All right. So this is a picture from our latest demo night at Code for Boston, which maybe some of you saw on our live stream. So demo nights for us are our time to get together as a community, to show off the work we've done, talk about what worked and what didn't, and generally just like be together to celebrate both our wins and our challenges. Oh, that's a really big bullets there. So we've run 6 demo nights since 2013. We usually average about 50 to 80 attendees, and this is composed of a couple of different kinds of people. Brigade members, governments, and other nonprofit partners, and also sort of like curious members of the public, like people who maybe have heard about Code for Boston or read about us in the newspaper or something like that, and who aren't necessarily Hack Night regular attendees, but want to know more about who we are. We usually have presentations of both Brigade projects and also our partners. So we extend an open invitation to our governmental and nonprofit partners to present as well. I'll get into that a little bit more later. We've tried a variety of cadences for demo nights. In the beginning, we sort of ran them once a month, and that became unsustainable because not enough work was happening on projects to sustain a once-a-month cadence. And then we were trying them every 6 months, which worked really well. And then between our last one and this one, we had like something like 15 or 18 months, which is way, way too long. So I think we've found that 6 months really works for us. I don't know if you have anything there to add, Matt.
On that part, no, I agree with the 6 months, and I think that ultimately you tend to view it as it's a chance for the folks in the brigade to have a nice little milestone celebration of all the hard work they've done, and a chance to get a lot of folks that don't normally come to an event to go to the event.
Yeah, like why do the demo night? So like Matt was saying, it gives your brigade project team a target to aim at. So if somebody knows that there's a demo night coming up in a month, they want to get things ready for the demo. It lets you engage with your less active members. So like we have a membership of something like 4,000 people. 4,000 people have not been to Hack Night, I promise you. So like a demo night is a really good low maintenance way for people to come and not have to make the commitment to come to your Hack Night. It also, because we invite members, other folks in the community, it lets our members see what else is happening in the civic tech scene here locally, aside from their own work. It can also get you some press coverage, exposure, build your member base. And one thing that's sort of a stealth thing is having a demo night can lower the barrier to entry for your local partners to come hang out with you. So if they've always been like blowing you off or something like that, folks from your local government, folks from a nonprofit. You can be like, hey, come to the demo night. It's totally just come hang out, have some pizza, see what we've been up to. And it can really be a door opener for getting your local partners to come hang out with you. So to dive into some logistics, Matt, do you want to talk about venue a little bit?
Yeah, so venue was one of the things that we spent a lot of time trying to find. I think that there's lots of different places that you can source a venue. So to make it special, and also because our regular venue doesn't have enough space for a larger group that we usually get for a demo night, we look to find something different. And so depending on where you are, there might be public facilities that you can potentially tap, like local libraries might have an auditorium of some sort, local innovation centers. So we're sponsored by the CIC for our regular venue, and they, for our last demo night, also had a larger event space that they offered to donate to us as well. So that's been really helpful for us, but I think that libraries and other things are also worth talking to, and universities. I think the key is that whether you're talking to a company or you're talking to some other space, make sure you get familiar with the space. Different spaces have different requirements around food. So some venues will have a requirement that you use their caterers. Some will or won't allow alcohol if you want to have certain kinds of drinks. And then some will have better setup for Wi-Fi and tables and chairs and that sort of thing. So working with a venue that's familiar with a lot of the logistics really made things a lot easier for us. They had an AV setup all in there. And so what I recommend is just do a walkthrough. Like when you have a venue for an event, or whenever I have a venue for an event, I tell them I want to spend just like 15 to 20 minutes with a person that's our contact person at the venue, walk through, see what it's like, and I'm going to ask them to show me the AV setup to just see that it works, that I can connect to it, the Wi-Fi, how I'm going to connect to it, where the tables and chairs are, what we have to provide for it, where visitors are going to go. Do people need to sign in? Sometimes we have to get the list from meetup.com and provide it to a front desk, and then the front desk will let people in if they RSVP'd, and then sometimes they won't. Sometimes there's an option. And then folks also often ask about parking and transit, so it definitely helps to get that information and provide it, and just restrooms and that sort of thing. So I think those are the key things that I think about when I'm going through space. And I think the other thing is just, Harlan, do you want to talk about the food donations part?
Yeah, mostly like for our demo nights, we usually provide food. Don't be if you're like someone who's shy about this sort of thing, don't be afraid to like just get out there and ask for donations of food or anything else out there. Code for America provides nonprofit documentation that you can give to your vendors to make this into a real sort of like donation that they can write off. On the left, you will see 20 dozen donut holes, which we got from a local vendor. If you ever were wondering what a box full of 240 donut holes looks like, that's what it looks like. And on the left, we have like a giant box of probably way too many burritos for the number of people that we had at that hackathon. So like just by asking, you can get a lot of things because your local businesses really do want to support the work that you're doing. And that is those are donut holes from Union Square Donuts. So in terms of marketing, like we mostly use Twitter and Meetup. We have pretty big Twitter and Meetup presences. So like mostly we push out word of our event on those channels. Sometimes we'll reach out to local press outlets, but that's a rarity. Another big thing for us is there's a number of local sort of tech lists that a lot of people are looking at. So there's a thing called Startup, StartHub, and a thing called Bostino, and a couple of other places for us to post here in Boston. But the other key thing is get your partners in on the action. So like if you're inviting partners to your demo night, have them amplify your message. Send them sample tweets, send them a link to retweet, leverage their social media reach as well as your own. And like, so here are some examples of ways that that's happened for us over the years. So like Involution Studios in the upper left gave a presentation at one of our demo nights. They posted it on their blog. Bostino, our venue, CIC, they have an event listing page. One of our other partners, Muck Rock, like they all post about our stuff on their own sites, and so we're leveraging their social media reach as well. For running the event, what we've found over the years is that predictability is the key for scheduling. Our demos take 10 minutes. This is like something we've come to through immense pain and suffering, so I recommend 10-minute demo, broken down like so. 5 minutes for the demo, 3 minutes for Q&A, and then 2 minutes for like AV, switching computers, like unplugging and replugging, and that lets you do reliably 6 in an hour on a schedule, so you can go get, you can know the number of people you have, schedule a 10-minute demo, and like more or less know how long your night's going to be. Sometimes we flex those demos longer, depending on the project needs or size, but what we mostly found is like, if you give someone 15 minutes to present, they'll fill it, even if they only have 5 minutes of good content. Am I like totally running over? Do I need to like kill it?
No, please keep going.
Okay. Also, make sure to put in time for like food/bio/conversation breaks. Like no one likes sitting through 2 to 2.5 hours of stuff. We often find also that the conversations between sessions are where much of the value comes from for attendees. So give them time to talk. However, if you give a break in the action, people will leave. Like just how they are, don't stress out about it. We've seen anything from like 10 to 30% attrition at breaks. I don't think we've ever ended a demo night with less than 50% of our total attendance there. So like sometimes people come to see their friend or to see a particular thing and they leave, and like I think that's a little impolite, but mostly it's fine. But also leave some time at the end for more conversation and networking. These are typically, at least for us, they're like fun events, but also social events. So like those conversations, the way that people build their own network, that's really critical. And we have usually a dedicated person to fill the following roles. So the MC keeps things on task, intros teams, things like that. There's a timekeeper, and that's really for the presenters. So like we have someone with usually like an iPad, like holding it up being like, 5 minutes. Make sure someone's tweeting out stuff on social media, of course. And then like someone to like grab the food when it gets there and like point people towards the bathroom. Like those sound really goofy, but they are real things in the world that you have to do if you're going to run a successful event. And of course, if you're going to do live streaming, the AV setup, as we found in our last demo that Matt will talk about, like live streaming can be complicated, and Matt will talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, thanks, Harlan. So this was the first time that we attempted to do a live stream at a Code for Boston event, at least when I was there. And so I learned a lot of this because back when I was unemployed, I actually spent time working with a YouTuber and helped video for his YouTube channel at CES 1 week, and that was a lot of fun. And so he provided a lot of advice for me on equipment and setup. And so I think things to think about when you're doing the live stream, first and foremost, is just getting a good shot and getting good audio. I think that sorry, I like got distracted by Harlan's Slack.
Sorry, that was unintentional alt tab.
All right, no worries. So anyways, yeah, it's just really a matter of what you want is you want some kind of camera that can frame both the presenter and also the presentation itself. And then you want to get them on a microphone of some sort. Usually for a camera, if you're using an external video camera, you want something called a Zoom microphone, or you want a unit that will connect to a lav microphone. And you can get an inexpensive lav microphone that will connect to your iPhone and get a little mount for your iPhone that connects it to a tripod, and just buy a tripod for your iPhone on Amazon and set that up. And that will get you probably around like 80% of the way there. So you just get like a really long cord and you can like put the microphone on someone and then get it on Facebook Live. For me, what I did is I had a Sony a6000 and I connected a Zoom microphone that Sony sells to it. And then I had it on a tripod, and then I connected it to something called an Elgato Cam Link. And the Elgato Cam Link intakes the HDMI from the video camera and then runs it through my MacBook Pro, which is then connected to the internet. And I used a piece of software called OB Studio to connect to Facebook Live. And the nice thing about OB Studio is it can take video from various sources. So if you have someone using OB Studio, you can actually shim in your slides if you want to do something a little more produced. But otherwise, it'll just connect directly up to Facebook and get you a quality that you would expect, because one of the challenges of using just the browser client to stream things is that tends to crash and burn. And so that was a little bit of what we were dealing with. We had some challenges around the fact that the camera that I was using had a battery that ran out. And so ended up at the last minute having to switch to using the little webcam on my MacBook Pro. So definitely have spare batteries or a way to connect the camera to a power source at the beginning. Camera was also overheating. I was using a film camera that also does video, and learned that because of some design choices they made around that and the trade-offs, that doesn't last for hours without having heating issues. However, I did find some later fun hacks on the internet about getting that all set. And then finally, just sound and bandwidth. It's definitely worth testing things ahead of time, making sure that you have appropriate bandwidth over Wi-Fi, or if you can get a hardwire connection with it, and then making sure that you can actually hear the people that are speaking at the front, because if people cannot hear you in your live stream, they will have no interest in watching it. So that's pretty much, it's a large universe to cover, but I hope that gives you some ideas. I'm happy to talk to people later or one-on-one for specific recommendations, and I can even send out a list of ideas of things you might look at on Amazon.
Awesome. So just a couple last quick things, a couple caveats, like if you've never run a demo night, like don't get stressed out. Like, we're talking about like stuff that we've honed over 5 years. We're like a really big brigade. We've got a ton of people. We usually run 3 to 8 projects at once. So like, I don't think that's actually the case for most of the people on this call, but like, if there is somebody listening, don't sweat it. It took us a really long time to get to this point, and you totally will too. Brigades or demo nights are like super fun. They're huge energy builders. They get people going, and you get people like this. So this is a woman from the state data team who I work with here at the Commonwealth, and she's presenting this really amazing data story that they did on the opioid crisis in Massachusetts. This was like a huge hit. They're a great government partner, and they came to hang out with us. This is a project that was built by the town of Arlington and also a local development firm that they built this open source budget visualizer, which later turned into a company called VizGov, and that was demoed for the first time at Code for Boston in 2014, and now they're in like 15 or 20 cities and towns. So like, there's all sorts of cool stuff that can show up at your demo night, and it's really fun. That's what we got for you. Sorry we went totally over the 5 minutes you allotted us, but like, hopefully this was useful to anybody, and we're happy to take any questions.
No, that was great. Thank you both so much for giving such great information. I was going to say at the timekeeper part that we've tried Post-its and they work well, but I don't think they would work as well in person. So does anybody have any questions? Feel free to unmute yourself, make any comments.
Is it unmuted? Thanks, Arlen. I'm curious how you, so like at Code for San Francisco, for our demo nights, we've always only included brigade projects. I'm really intrigued by the idea of inviting others from the community. Did you have particular ways that you like targeted who you invited to speak at the demo nights?
Not in particular. So like, we have a number of governmental partners who we work pretty regularly with. So the city of Boston, Cambridge, and Somerville, the Metropolitan Area Planning Council, where Matt works, and the state, now that where I work. and also just like other partners we've come in contact with over the years. So like we usually have a pretty good idea about what they're doing, and sometimes we just send them out an email and say something like, hey, we're going to do a demo night in a couple of months. Do you have anything that's worthwhile to show? We'd love to show off the work that you're doing. So usually just a blast email like that, nothing super sophisticated.
One idea for you all is 18F has staffers in most of your cities, and they typically have really cool stuff to demo and sometimes also have jobs to offer. So that's a good sort of stock complementary organization to invite. And we have an 18F channel on the CFA Slack if you're not sure how to get in touch with them.
Yeah, that's a good call. We focus mostly on local, but actually I think that's probably a really good idea for us to think about next time we do it. Thanks, Erie.
My experience at Open Oakland is that there's a lot of us who are just welcoming and listening to what people come to do, and there's often a lot of kind of flexibility and generosity about us inviting other folks into the demo night model, and I found that that's worked really well.
Yeah, I think for us that model, like, we try to be like a real member of the larger civic tech community, and having other people in really, it shows them what we're doing, but it also shows our membership what they're doing, that there's other stuff out there.
Awesome. Any other comments or questions? Cool. Thank you, Harlan, and thank you, Matt. We will move forward then to Raimi from Open Oakland.
Hi, everyone. Let me just figure out the share screen. I have two screens going, so I'm going to see. Let's see. Just one. Okay.
That worked.
That works. Okay. All right, so I can get started here. We're definitely, relative to Code for Boston, Open Oakland's demo nights are a lot less intricate, mainly because we do them sort of integrated into our regular hack nights, and I'll talk more about that in the next slide. All right, so like I said, our logistics are pretty simple. It's at our regular venue at Oakland City Hall, and we don't do any special advertising like Harlan and Matthew. We just do our regular meetup. Again, our demo nights are once a month, so that's the difference between every 6 months or once a year. We tend to keep it pretty informal. So the most that we do is like we'll add demo night to the actual meetup invite, and then we'll send out reminders on Slack. Hey guys, it's demo night tonight. Don't forget. And then we'll have each project team say yay or nay whether they're demoing that night. And so for us, because of sort of like the smaller informal demo night structure, we do get to do all the projects. And so we actively encourage, whether it's by person, in contact, when people come up to me and say, hey, I'm really interested, or give a shout out, I say, come on demo night, because it's a really great overview for all the projects that we have. And right now we have, I believe, 11, including City Camp projects to go through. And it is the most informative way to actually get acquainted with all of our projects. They're highly attended, so the energy is really high. Sometimes we'll have 30 people. And then we also order dumplings. That's from a local Chinatown restaurant that we all love. And we like to advertise the dumplings a lot, aside from our normal pizza for the regular demo nights. And then for structure and content, this is exactly how we break it down. We have 4 minutes. Each team gets to give us an update of last month's progress and what their next steps are. And then right after that, 4 minutes of Q&A, and then it's usually done with slides or a live walkthrough, and it's time and led by the Hack Night leads, Tom Dooner and Erin. And time, we try to keep the time pretty under control so that everyone has a chance. And again, because this is part of our regular Hack Night, after all the demos are said and done, the rest of the evening follows a regular format of a Hack Night, which includes intros of new people, any announcements that we might have, onboarding by me or Helen or Tom sometimes, and hacking on top of all of that. And so through our structure, what we've learned and what we like to continue is that it creates a culture of presentation with our organization. So you get to report out what you've done. And it's a really like low stress and low key way to invite potential partners to tell us about their work, because we also during our demo nights encourage partners to pitch a project. And the way that our structure is, this requires frequent updates so that this allows for accountability in the projects and everyone gets to participate. In addition to our monthly demos, this is now what we're trying to do and what we have done. We're now reaching out to our community partners to do demos and give talks on regular Hack Nights. So this is in addition to demo nights. And for instance, I've reached out to Code for SF for the fire risk project through their data science working group. We've had digital services from SF come and speak with us, and also other local nonprofits or community groups that do aligned work. And one of the last ones went pretty well. Okay, and so this is sort of the cons of our current structure. What our structure doesn't allow for is a very deep understanding or treatment of each project. It allows 4 minutes of just talking through of this is what we've done and this is what we're going to do. And so what it leaves is like, you're not allowed to really ask very deep questions. And then at the end of it all, we also do the hacking. Remember I told you we do announcements and we do the intros. So then we probably have maybe half an hour solid left for hacking. So that isn't so great. And last thing, we can think about some next steps, and I think I've learned some things from the Boston team. Perhaps we might look into what less frequent demo nights would look like. Maybe we could keep both formats, one for sort of like internal, inviting new people to our Hack Nights, and maybe having something bigger, something that looks like logistically more complicated, but might be more public facing. And in doing so, maybe we can also look at particular featured project and be able to go more in depth. So it's not just 4 minutes instead of doing all projects all at once. Perhaps we could host demo nights at a different venue instead of doing it at the same exact place that we have Hack Nights every week. And I think one of our Open Data Day events that we just had, we had it at the main library branch in Oakland, and that went really well. And I'm wondering if going outside of City Hall would be a good option for us for a demo night. And at this point, we haven't done any recording or live streams. But if I can see if we do less frequent demo nights, that would possibly be an option. And I'm thankful for Matthew and Harlan to really bring us some great information about that. So if that's an option in the near future, I'll definitely be pinging you guys for that. All right, and that is the end of my presentation. Any questions?
Amazing, thank you. Does anyone have any questions? No?
If no one has a question, I'll ask one. Because I'm just kind of curious. Do folks feel they make a lot of progress in the month that you're able to really have something to show? Or is it more like you're showing a selection of projects and rotating which one? So it's like maybe that project had like 2 months of progress and then you demoed.
For the most part, people do have stuff to show per night. Look, last demo night was last night, and it happened that a lot of members couldn't attend for one reason or another. So I think we only demoed about 2 or 3 projects last night. But for the most part, people do have a lot to report back on. There are going to be some months where 1 or 2 projects, they'll just be like, oh, no progress was made, but this is what we're going to do for the future. And again, since we do promote this demo night to new members, to potential new members, it's still a really great way to be like, you know, do a quick explainer of the project to that particular audience.
If I could add one thing really quick to that, it's that I think also we started doing demo nights like about a year ago, this monthly structure, more as like an internal accountability, like sharing kind of purpose rather than like an external purpose. So I think because we wanted to be able to have visibility into the other projects that were happening within our own organization, because I think a lot of our membership was feeling like they didn't have that visibility. So definitely many projects don't have, like to your point, Matt, not like many projects don't have a lot of progress month to month. And that's something that is really great to actually surface at the demo night. If you see people skipping the demo, or if people like demo the same thing month after month, then that actually is like, as my job as Hack Night lead, and sort of the project person working to help the project leaders, that's really important for me to actually recognize at a forum like the demo night.
Cool.
Awesome. Thank you both. Does anyone else have any other questions or comments? Okay.
Sorry, I have a quick one. Remy, for attendance, do you have way more people that come on demo nights, or is it generally the same number of people as a normal night?
Historically, we have seen more higher attendance. So I would say on average, and this is just not even based on real data, probably have about 10 more members come during a demo night. Tom, would you agree that sounds pretty accurate? And so we'll have a host of new members, typically in the double digits during demo nights, or close to double digits.
And I know that you said that you put the demo night on the RSVP on Meetup. Is there any other type of advertising that attracts those newer members?
So Twitter is one thing. We do tweet out. Facebook, I think fewer people actually look at our Facebook announcements. And aside from that, it's just basically, I think a lot of the steering committee, which includes me, Tom, and even like other people who are just enthusiastic about Open Oakland, will be like, hey, come to demo nights, or hey, just come whenever, look up on Meetup. And that's, a lot of this is done through word of mouth as well. So old-fashioned word.
Awesome. Thanks. Okay, perfect. I guess we will move on to Jesse's presentation. Thank you, Remy. Do you want me to? Yeah, I'll just.
Hey, everybody.
Whoa.
Hello. Let's click the screen. Okay, good. Cool. That's advanced. Let's see. There we go. Cool. So yeah, hi everybody. As I mentioned earlier, my name is Jesse. I'm one of the, which camera to look at, lead organizers for Code for San Francisco. And so yeah, I'll just share a little bit about our demo days. So why do we host demo nights? Our goals, I think, are pretty similar to some that were already mentioned, but it's an opportunity to both like attract people from the broader civic tech community. We do see for demo nights, ours are more on, I think, Code for Boston side of the spectrum in terms of cadence and like how big of a deal we make out of it. So I think we usually see roughly 80 to 100 people attend our demo nights as opposed to around 50 or 60 people attending the normal hack nights. So we do get a lot of people that are not usually at hack night, which is an opportunity to both raise awareness of the work the Brigade is doing and also like bring people back into the fold or bring new people into the fold to connect with our projects. And then it's also sort of a marker for project teams to reflect back on the work that they've done and also sort of a target to hit. So we do these every 6 months or so. So it's an opportunity for people to think about like leading up to these, like what more they want to accomplish and what they want to share out. And then also we encourage people to share where their projects are going over the next 6 months. So it's also an opportunity for our projects to think about that. So again, yeah, I think ours is probably a little bit more on the Code for Boston side of the spectrum in that we do them about every 6 months or so. They last about 3 hours. We also break ours up into 10-minute blocks. I also agree this works pretty well, where we do 5 minutes for presentations. We do 2 minutes for Q&A and then 3 minutes for like switching and buffer time. We found that this works pretty well for staying consistent. And then this also allows, we've had projects run over a little bit in the past, and so this gives a little bit of a buffer. And then also switching, although it sounds easy, there's always little hiccups that happen there, so it's good to build in that buffer. Yeah, we have roughly 10 projects presenting over the last 2 at least, and then yeah, roughly 80 to 100 attendees. We do like to record these and then post them to YouTube afterwards. So it's just a picture from our last demo night, which was last month. So I grabbed a bunch of examples from our last demo night and just made copies of them. So I'll make sure these links end up somewhere, but I thought it might be useful, especially maybe for Brigades that haven't run a demo night before, just to have some of these like example assets so that they can sort of like bootstrap their efforts. And so there's things like more logistical process details, but also just like an example of what our planning document looks like, which is really like our main document for the event, where we put like all the roles that we have, the projects that will be presenting, the schedule, the run of show, and all of that. So hopefully that's helpful for people. But again, I'll make sure these links end up somewhere that people can find them. So there's more recommendations in some of those links, but I thought I would call out a few just to highlight. We typically, or we've like to require online demos or PDF slides to simplify presentation switching. We found that actually like switching laptops can be kind of risky in that the AV doesn't always work quite right. So we found it easier just to have one laptop and have people share the presentations ahead of time. We do recommend that projects that don't have an online demo, that they can make a video and put that in the slides. This also has the added benefit that we do record the screen, the laptop screen during the evening, so that like later when we publish the videos, we can splice together the slide video and the presenter video. Yeah, as Matt mentioned, it's really important to make sure you do a walkthrough of the venue that you're using and test the AV out before the day of, to make sure you can get through any kinks, and make sure you have backup plans. Yeah, again, just in case any of those like components fail, that you have an idea of like how you'll react to that or what you'll do instead. One problem that we've run into in the past is sort of identifying the projects that should present. So when we solicit for presentations, we do sort of like a general call out to the Brigade projects. And because of this, we've gotten submissions from projects that from people that weren't quite affiliated with the Brigade. And so our focus thus far has been Brigade projects presenting, although I do like the idea of inviting external partners to present as well. So we've tried to identify like what is a brigade project, which I know is always a little bit of a blurry line, especially for us, to ahead of time to make sure you understand like which project should be presenting. And then, yeah, just a recommendation on scheduling to start probably, especially if haven't run one before, at least 3 months ahead of time, just to make sure that you have enough capacity to get everything done. But we've been able to, through the last 3 or 4, sort of get the process down. And so this last one, I think we did with a month of lead time. So like as you sort of streamline and iterate on this process, you can definitely get it to that point. And yeah, so as most importantly, iterate. So things will definitely not go perfectly. Our last one, we definitely ordered way too much food. The lighting wasn't great. And then, yeah, we lost about half the people at the break. I think that's more than we expected because I think we started a little bit later than we might do in the future. So most importantly, just as you run these, I would suggest collecting attendee feedback post-event. I would recommend prepping the survey ahead of time. I noticed for me, at least, anytime I like leave the survey until after the event, it doesn't get sent out right away. So I would recommend doing it ahead of time. That way you can send the survey out very quickly after the event to get more feedback. And then I also recommend doing sort of like a retrospective. So that's just getting the organizers and volunteers together to talk about what went well, what didn't get well, and then generating takeaways for next time. Yeah, that's basically all I had. So again, I'll share those resources. Hopefully people will find those useful. But I'm happy to answer questions now and also via email or Slack if anybody has any. If not, I will turn the laptop back around to Veronica. Let's do that.
Thank you, Jesse. That's great. Awesome. So that kind of ends the presentation portion of the evening, but I want to open up the kind of discussion for anybody that has any feedback. So Janet, did you want to chime in? I see your comment about the size of your brigade and if you have enough to show. Do you want to elaborate a little bit more?
Yeah, well, you know, we have a tiny city and a lot of the people commute. So, I mean, it sort of feels like, wow, I wish we could do that, but we just really have to stick to our scale and what we can do and not feel like, oh gosh, we have to do that too. I really like the idea of bringing in, looking around for other civic tech projects that are happening maybe within the city or some of the suburban governments, and maybe building an event around that. So it wouldn't be Code for Dayton just demonstrating our stuff, but like people coming in to communally demonstrate civic tech.
And Janet, one of the other things you've said before that's been interesting has been about the state rep who's interested in this stuff.
Yes.
And like having a demo night and inviting them in to do like a quick lightning talk about how they're thinking about these problems too. I think that could be really compelling as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, one other thing too is being able to partner with outside community partnerships allows some more room for opening doors for fundraising opportunities, as well as partnership, obviously, for projects and stuff. But that's something that could be helpful as well. The more kind of people and partners you include, the more you get that attention and ability for fundraising. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. I mean, I also think that, you know, having a demo night, even just not necessarily on a certain cadence and just doing it whenever is an appropriate time serves the purpose even better than doing it on a cadence that doesn't make sense for your brigade. Oh, Rami. Remy said, also, Janet, I think going outside civic tech, but parallel valued community groups could also work.
Yeah, I think it was just pretty much echoing what you were saying too, Veronica, just identifying those community partners that might not just necessarily be in the civ tech space, but doing maybe stuff with technology, or doing things on the civic engagement level. Then you can all like jam them all in one room for one night.
I have a question for the group. Did anybody not hear a tip that they would like to share, even if you weren't a presenter?
Wait, did I not hear a tip that I want to share?
Yeah. Like, did anybody, particularly those who were not presenting, think like, oh man, you should have, like, one thing you should think about is.
Oh, I see.
But feel free to double down, Harlan, if you forgot something.
Well, one thing we've done in Philly for some of our demo nights is invite like a panel of experts to provide feedback. And that's a useful tool for getting some of those like higher ups who you might not otherwise be able to get out to your events. Like we've had the director of 311 come out and be one of the expert panelists. And they kind of just sit up front and get to chat with the teams for a minute afterwards. We're careful not to frame that as like a judge thing or anything.
Not Shark Tank. I love that idea, Chris. It's great.
Yeah, I did the same thing in Oakland for a couple of years. I don't know. Most recently, the city hired a new diversity person, and she came down, and I don't know. I think it took about a month or two, but we did switch a regular hack night to a panel discussion and invited people who never had come into City Hall, who were kind of like-minded, like Rami said, and it was just a wonderful evening that grew our community and also just had a conversation that we really wouldn't have regularly had otherwise.
I have another question, surprise. Who here has not gone and asked for free food for a brigade event?
I guess us.
Okay.
Kinda.
Janet, you have like marched down to Skyline Chili and kicked in the door and said, you have? That's awesome. So Harlan shared sort of the fast version of wrestling 250 donut holes, or however many you said. 20 dozen, is that right?
20 dozen.
20 dozen. For folks who haven't taken the jump of asking for special contributions for events, are there any questions that you want to, like, anxieties you want to share around stuff that has stopped you, or tactics that you want to juice Harlan for?
I mean, I would be curious. I have not done that personally. I would be curious to hear how you target the restaurants, or like how you sell it to them.
Mostly, it's like getting over yourself. I mean, that's what it was for me anyway. So like, we had this like one of our events and fundraising lead, a woman named Becky Donner. She was like totally ruthless about asking for stuff. She was like, I don't care. I'll talk to anybody about anything. And she just like sort of taught me that it's not that hard. Mm-hmm. So we just like, if we're doing something that's local, we usually try to play the local angle pretty much. Like, this is who we are. This is what we do. This is what we're doing. We have some specific language around like saying we would love a donation or a discount. I can find some of those emails if you would find it useful. But like when we did a hackathon up in the city of Somerville, we like went with all Somerville businesses and we were like, this is about Somerville. This is for Somerville. Can you support us? And people got on board. Mm-hmm. That local angle can be really powerful, like really, really powerful.
And Harlan, I don't know if you saw in the chat, but Nina would like you to walk through what it looks like and sounds like. Do you like call? Do you walk in? Do you email?
Usually email. Sometimes a call. Like, because they're a national brand, who's really good about this stuff?
Dunkin' Donuts?
Chipotle.
Oh, Chipotle. Oh, really? Oh, cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. Mr. Chipotle is really good about donating to your event.
Yeah, they have regional marketing reps. We've gotten hundreds of burritos from them.
Yep.
I just sort of imagine you Scrooge McDucking and like a little pile of burritos.
That would be like a little gross, but I like the idea.
That's exactly what I did.
But yeah, look, Chipotle is really good. You got to give them a little bit of time, and that's another thing to keep in mind. Like a lot of times for stuff like donations, especially if you're asking for donations at scale for like anything over 20 people, like they usually need some time. They often need like a month. So like I don't know if you've ever been to Chipotle when they're prepping for like a giant catering order. It's like a bonanza of logistics for them to have them put together that many burritos. So like they need some time. But yeah, usually it's email. Sometimes it's a phone call. The pizza place that we've ordered basically pizza for Hack Night from the same place for 5 years. So when we're like putting this guy's kid through college or something. So like when we need, they give us a discount for our big events all the time because we're a regular customer. So I don't know if any of that's helpful.
Do you guys recognize how do you recognize the donors for stuff?
Yeah. So for our bigger events like hackathons and stuff like that, we put them usually in the Eventbrite as food sponsors. We put their logo. We also print out some signage and put it with the food at the event where we're like, this lunch generously donated by Chipotle, or these donut holes generously discounted by Union Square Donuts. And then we usually take a picture of that as well and tweet it out at them from our main Twitter account. We're like, thank you so much, Chipotle, for powering our awesome project work here at Code for Boston. Like, a way to make your sponsors and vendors really, really happy is when you give them social media love. So we try to do that all the time.
And Rami, did you have something you wanted to add?
Yes, I didn't do it for Open Oakland necessarily, but one thing that Harlan mentioned, giving enough time to the sponsors is a very important thing, especially for larger sponsors. Let's say it's Whole Foods or Chipotle or people who might be working on a regional schedule. So the importance of that is they might have, at the top of the month, they might have a list of all these events that they've been asked to sponsor. And they might have a budget only for that month. So if you call too late, then let's say you wanted it for the month of, let's say, April, you might be out of luck. So at least give that time. Make sure it's way before the end of the month. So don't call mid-month for the end of the month. 2 weeks is definitely not enough time. So it's not even a matter of preparation necessarily. It's a matter of funding. They might be tapped for that thing. But I do agree with the tweeting out and showing them love, and also cultivate sort of like ongoing sponsorships too, so that they are likely to sponsor you again and again. And if there's a real good reason to identify who the audience is going to be, let's say it was a biotech company and, they happen to be a big coffee company near all these biotechs. And I'm thinking about Cambridge in particular, be like, hey, our audience is biotech people. You want your name to be here. And so that's another angle that I've played as well.
Great. I'd love to hear from some of the brigades that have joined the call but didn't present. Do you all currently do a demo night? What kind of does your current structure look like? And I will put you on the spot, Joshua, since Nina is working and it's our first time my first time meeting you.
Sure, yeah. So at Hack for LA, we don't do demo days yet. That's partially why I'm on this call, because I work kind of under Nina and I lead the Hack Nights. And so one thing that was pretty apparent in all three of the presentations was just how the demos seem to give a lot more visibility to like the project to tracking progress with each project. And we've kind of noticed over the past couple months, that's kind of like if you're not holding them accountable, they can just come and go as they please, and they'll just give you pretty like I don't know, pretty vanilla answers in terms of like, yeah, we're doing fine, like we're making progress. And so yeah, it's definitely something we want to implement. We kind of already try and hold them accountable in the sense that we have like a monthly newsletter that comes out, and every single month we try and ping every single group for updates, for progress updates, and also their needs. And then that's also something we do every time we meet, every Tuesday night. And yeah, but I mean, like before, I think, like I said before, I think having the actual demo days would not only force them to kind of put together something nice instead of giving me these like plain answers, but also it would probably help out with like attendance and like our partnerships with like the local community.
Awesome. Remy asked, how do you report out internally on project updates? Oh, and that's to the whole group. I got that at the end. But thank you for sharing, Joshua.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
So just like in general about report outs?
Remy, in general?
Yes, it was in general because this is one of our main mechanisms for accountability for projects. And so I was just curious on how else, like, so LA might have newsletters. How is Boston, Dayton, and SF doing that?
I mean, historically, like, we have every project check in we do like a round of announcements and sort of project updates at the beginning of every hack night. So people get there, we do a couple of announcements of like, you know, like upcoming events and any jobs or things like that. Then we do some project updates, which usually consists of what they're doing tonight and what they need. And then we move into like orientation and stuff like that for new members. We're trying to get, and Matt's actually been really critical in trying to put sort of more structure around that. We have a project lead channel in our Slack, and trying to like really just understand more about what's going on in the projects. We've actually, I think, talked about that in our last 2 or 3 leadership team nights, right?
Yeah, it's definitely, I think, especially in our projects, it can be a challenge because we have, quite frankly, a lot going on within each project, just both in the sheer number of people working on it and the team leads. And then the challenges are very different. So, I mean, we have some projects that end up being too tech heavy. They have all these software developers, but they really need like designers and subject matter experts. And then we have some where everybody's like brainstorming for months and they have beautiful wireframe mockups and they haven't figured out how to do the GitHub repo even yet. So it's interesting to see. And so we're also we built, and we can share this, we just did a whole structuring of our project intake process. And so a lot of the work we're doing around that is sort of managing the expectations of the partner or person who's proposing the project for the group and helping them understand the norms around our projects, sort of how they want to contribute, and then also some sort of common patterns that we've seen that they might want to work around in order to be more successful. And I think finally, we're going to work to have a workshop to have a project manager training with someone from Pivotal sometime in the next couple months, because one of our members works there and offered that up as a thing. So hoping to really fortify that. And I can share our project intake flowchart if that would be helpful.
Awesome. Stacy, I see your hand, Janet. I just wanted to recognize Stacy real quick because I know she joined the call a little late. Are you able to speak? Do you have any input you want to throw in? Okay. Well, we'll move back to Janet.
Yeah, well, we, when people were bringing projects to us, they would show up and kind of nothing would materialize out of it. So we went to a model of having a project champion. So somebody who was passionate about the project, they didn't have to be a developer, but they had to say, I'm going to try to attract those resources from our group and get this going. And then we put a Slack channel. I try to get people into Slack so we can kind of monitor and encourage and support what's going on there. But we had some people who were being project champions and then they just like vanished. So rather than try to get more new projects, we are trying to focus on the ones we've got and keep pushing them forward. And unless we have somebody who can step into that role, and pretty much all the co-captains are project champions, and then we're all on each other's projects. So we aren't really out looking for more new things to add until we've honed that process and made it more functional. And we do it mostly through Slack and just kind of nagging by whatever communication method is at hand.
This is Neil, and you've reached my home office answering service. I'm not here to take your call.
Yeah. Great. Thank you, Janet. Does anyone else have any other input or questions or thoughts? No, I'm kidding. Okay, that's great. Well,
Can I say a quick thing? Sorry, I was interrupted there.
Yeah, sure.
In Oakland, pre-demo days, we actually had a kind of a somewhat not dissimilar to what Janet described, who kind of oversaw kind of the health and well-being of the projects. And what he did is that we installed a blogging tool on our WordPress site, which has actually gone dormant now. But that was his way of basically doing the rounds several times a month, chatting with each project leader, and actually either asking them for a little write-up or just interviewing them, and then he would do the write-up and post it on the blog. And then the blog just became something that was kind of really helpful to push out as content and to promote and internally and externally. It was a nice way that we were documenting progress.
You know, I think another thing that we do in Boston is like we sort of view every project that we have as a lead, and we're trying to get a little bit more structure around like sort of a PM type of person versus a technical architect or technical lead. But regardless, we really view those leads as like an extension of our core team, an extension of our leadership team. Like, you know, they're the people they're like the interface between a lot of us on the leadership team and like actual project work. So like we lean on our leads a lot. We have a channel to support them in Slack, and that's our like connection into the project. And I think part of that starts just from the way that we think about them as really like part-time members of the leadership core team. If that's helpful.
Awesome.
Hey, I got set up in a quiet environment. I could jump in.
Hey, Stacy, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. So I'm with Code for KC. I am an AmeriCorps Vista that's KC Digital Drive is like a local non-for-profit that provides like some structure for our brigade. So I started with Code for KC and switched over, but we're actually focusing on trying to develop a better core team, like leadership to project relationship. So we're actually trying out creating core team liaisons that will check in with one project so that they don't have to explain the whole project and their status all the way through every time they update. And we can check in on a weekly basis.
Oh, there we go. Sorry, it froze for a second. But we caught the you can check in on all.
Yeah, I think my internet connection cut out. Sorry.
No, that's fine. That's great. And so do you currently do any type of demo day or demo night?
We do have report out night. That's right now we've just been doing it once a year. That's related to the projects that come out of our yearly hackathon. But we've been trying to incorporate learn nights more often, where it's kind of like that panel of experts talking about projects around our area. And we've been discussing doing more report out nights, but we're still working on that formatting of people presenting and getting that down first.
Awesome. Thanks.
Sure.
Cool. So we have 7 minutes left. Does anyone else have anything to share? Any more questions?
I have one tiny thing, which is that if I could get everyone to look to your right, I'm going to take a screenshot for art for the blog post about this. So, at your leisure, look to your right. Okay. And it's funny because it looks like I'm going the other way, so I'm going to go left. All right, done. Very Brady Bunch. Does anybody have a real thing that's not art related to share?
On the next.
Was it everyone's good side or was it the bad side?
Want to talk about the schedule for the next one?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Tom. So we have instituted kind of a monthly schedule. We're piloting, trying to do this every month versus kind of ad hoc time. So at the current moment, these are scheduled for the second Monday now in the future for the next 3 months. And our goal will be to have a topic 3 to 4 weeks ahead of time. You can find the workshops actually on the Brigade website. So that's a new update along with the events page that is now live.
Do you want to show while you're talking?
Sure, I can totally show. Let me just pull it up. So it's really helpful, hopefully. That's our goal, is for this to be really helpful and to be able to highlight different events. And also so folks have a sense of kind of like what's coming up down the pipeline, so that it's not like, oh, we're doing this in a few days. So hopefully this will be helpful. Let me share my screen. So if you see here, this is the home page for the Brigades for Code for America. And if you click on events here, it's a new tab. And you can see key dates. And so we have Summit on here, National Day of Civic Hacking, Brigade Congress, which will be in October. And then at the bottom is this nifty little calendar. And it is run through, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, but run through Google Calendar. And so you're able to see kind of what upcoming events are. The goal for this calendar will be events that are able to be accessed remotely by anybody who would want to join. So if you have any ideas for things that you'd like to see on here, just let us know. We're kind of building it out and finding out how we're going to structure it as we go along of what's most useful. So we'd love any feedback. Do you have anything to add, Tom?
Yeah, no, just that, yeah, you can click that little plus button down the like Google Calendar plus thing at the bottom, and you can add it to if you use Google Calendar for your own stuff, you can add it and see the events like integrated with your own calendar. But yeah, please, send feedback or events if you know of anything that would be applicable to the whole network.
Definitely. Perfect. Well, thank you everyone so much. I'm really excited that we had the chance to do this. Thank you all for participating. Thank you to our presenters for preparing and speaking and sharing. We actually get so much joy from these workshops, and hopefully they're helpful and they're somewhat fun too. So let us know if you have any ideas for workshops that you'd like to see, and we will keep you updated. All right, thanks. Have a great night.